Bill Belichick. The bottom line is this guy is a winner. I urge you, go look up what Richard Sherman, a big time defensive Hall of Fame player. Somebody asked him in an interview, how do you feel about this? And he's like, hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Mini. Ooh, give me the podcast. What did we go with? We went with, I know you guys are going to think I sound like a broken record for saying it again the second time in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but we're doing another Northern Soda Coast soda that I swore we've done before, but looking at the spreadsheet, we have not. So it's due north. And I gotta say, I like it. The first thing, other than the really cool design with trees and everything for Minnesota and the compasses and stuff, I saw was it says at the bottom under due north, it says an old fashioned lemon lime soda. So it's almost like a signature Minnesota version of like a Sprite or a 7-Up or Starry or whatever. And in my opinion, this rivals any one of those. Any one of those. So yeah, first off, I really think it's tasty. For those that are new here, what is Northern Soda Co? It is a craft soda company specializing in 1950s style sodas. And for those that have been here and listening the last couple weeks, yes, there will be other sodas and other drinks that we will try that are not from Northern Soda Co. We love our friends over at Northern Soda Co. So we got to make sure at some point we get every single flavor on here rated and tried for you guys. So yeah, have the website up, and for those again that have been around here, it is listed as one of the 20 or so sodas that they do have featured on their website, and their excerpt for it is natural lemon and natural lime with a hint blood orange. This is our version of a popular soda from the 1940s that was marketed as a citrus cola, even though it is absolutely nothing like a cola because it was loaded with caffeine. Ours is caffeine free. And I have to say, personally, I don't really taste any orange or blood orange, but to each their own. I like it. I'm going to give it a 7/7. It's not amazing. It's not necessarily like super unique, but it's a nice solid soda. This is something I'd go out of my way to get. This is like a high 7/7 in my opinion, close to being like a 7/8, maybe a 7/9. But I like 7/7s. 7/7s you would go out of your way to get. They're refreshing. I like them. You can drink this one kind of all the way around the year. There's just really nothing about it that just pops out to me. But I really like it. This rivals, and I would get this over Sprite. I'd get it over 7-Up for sure. I used to be a huge 7-Up guy. Since have not been. But yeah, really enjoy it. And yeah, really quickly, once again, Northern Soda Co. located in New Brighton, Minnesota. Right off of, let me put my map again, 35W and Campus Drive, kind of tucked back, in a little warehouse district. Really cool area. And with where they're kind of situated in the warehouse, that district, when it's nice out, they got like cornhole and games outside in the parking lot as well. But definitely, if you haven't, you have to go check out this place. It's kind of quaint. It's not gigantic. Place, but you can get tours where they make and concoct all of their sodas. They have like a cool little bar area that you can belly up at and get sodas straight off the tap. And then they have TV so you can watch your sports games. They usually have TV, like channel something on. They got board games, card games, anything you can think of. They got a couple of arcade games, and they actually have like their own like store merch shop too, so you can get everything from like shirts, hats, t-shirts, little cups, anything you can think of, you can get from there that has their name on it. Go get them, go support them. The only unique thing about them is they're closed during the week. They're only open Thursday through Sundays. So if you want to go check them out on Thursdays, and Fridays are open 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturdays 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then Sundays noon to 6. You can also reach out to them and host your own private parties there. And if that isn't enough, go check out their website, northernsoda.com, and they have events happening all the time. And just a couple of them. They do it kind of a month by month. So the only one is actually tonight, Friday, January 30th. It's a soda sample frenzy. And Yeah, like I said, about every month they kind of update all their stuff. They got like bingo nights, they have like DIY craft nights, a bunch of cool stuff like that. So go check them out on their website to find out what you can go experience and do there as well. And then check them out on social media too: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, I believe, is what they're on. So 7-7, go check them out. You guys will not be disappointed. And tell them your friends that their friends at the mini weekend sent you guys. And yeah, that's what we got for during the podcast. I know some of you are probably thinking, what is going on here? We are going to have, there's lots of fun stuff going on in the basement. I know we were over in the corner last week with this area kind of being under construction. We're sanding, kind of get ready to paint, put some stuff up. So bear with us. Right now, there's a bunch of crap over in the corner. So my wife always teases me. She's like, if you want to be taken seriously with this podcast, you have to be consistent and have a good background. And she's not wrong, folks. She is not wrong. But it's a work in progress. We're going to get there. Patience. That and what other thing? A couple things we were going to go over. Yes, I understand it's Friday night. We were going to come at you guys last night. Thursday, we had some technical difficulties. I cut my losses after trying for about an hour. Said everything should be back up and running. So we're coming at you guys tonight. And then last thing before we jump into the meat and potatoes of tonight's podcast. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned that we were going to be doing an every other week podcast, so that in an effort to kind of keep the podcast a little bit shorter for you guys, it seems like the consensus is more people kind of like shorter podcasts instead of having to listen to me yammer on, or me and somebody else yammer on for an hour or anything like that. So this is going to be the start of every other week. We're going to think about maybe workshopping some different names, but going every other week where it's going to be like Pro Sports, Tommytown, Pro Sports, Tommytown, Pro Sports, Tommytown, and we're gonna kick it off with doing our Pro Sports tonight. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know I have not forgot about our live stream schedule. Been busy and have kind of misplaced my calendars for a little bit. You guys do not want to miss it. Tomorrow night we're going to be going live streaming the 9 o'clock Wild game in Edmonton. Should be a fun one. So yes, tune in for that. And I think with that, let's just jump right in. So before we get into our actual Wild, Timberwolves, and NFL and all that kind of fun stuff, we have the Olympics coming up here, which is insane. The Olympics are a mere competition. So we're going to get into this in a minute. The competitions are a mere 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days away, but we're a week away from opening ceremonies. Jack, what in the hell does that mean? That means that, and I always kind of forget about this, but Summer and Winter Olympics, based off of how much time each sport is required, there are a couple sports that always start before opening ceremony. So everybody just assumes, hey, opening ceremonies happen, boom, then everything starts. That's not the case. So opening ceremonies are actually on my birthday this year, February 6th. But alpine skiing, curling, will all get started on Wednesday the 4th, and then ice hockey and ski jumping and snowboarding will get started on the 5th, the only 2 days before the opening ceremonies. And I always enjoy watching the opening ceremonies, just kind of seeing, the entrance for especially America, and just kind of seeing the landscape of how everything's going to look for the week. And not that I'm not going to be paying attention a little bit to all of them, but obviously with it being the winter, some of my favorites, if anybody is interested, obviously I love the ice hockey. I've always been fascinated with the luge, and the skeleton, but then ski jumping, ski mountaineering, snowboarding, and even speed skating I kind of like. So those are going to be, and the freestyle skiing. Those will kind of be some of my favorites, and I'm probably going to be watching. It's not one of my favorites necessarily, but we're going to get into it in just a minute. I'm going to be spending some time watching some curling this year. Our curling team is actually from Minnesota, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, which leads into the next thing I wanted to bring up. So Minnesota is sending a ton of athletes to the Winter Olympics in 24. And the only state that beat us out was Colorado, who's saying 29. So let's meet who is representing the U.S. from Minnesota. The majority of them are on the men and women's hockey teams. But starting off, we got Jackson Lacombe on the hockey team, Lucinda Anderson biathlon, Georgia Birkenland speed skating, Jessie Diggins cross country skiing. She's a beast. She's gonna be fun to watch. Brock Faber hockey, Margie Freed biathlon, Ailey Geving Serling. That's a new one. I haven't heard of that one. Jake Gensel hockey, Rory Gilday ice hockey, Taylor Heisey hockey, Zach Kitterson cross country skiing, Paula Moltzen alpine skiing, Greta Myers speed skating, Brock Nelson ice hockey, Jake Ottinger hockey, Aiden Oldenburg curling, Kelly Panic hockey, Tabitha Peterson Lovick curling, Iris Flume snowboarding, John Ralph freestyle skating, Rich Roshan curling, Lee Stecklin hockey, Corey Thesey curling, Lindsey Vaughn skiing, Grace Zumwinkle hockey, and those are the 24 Olympians going to the Olympics from Minnesota. If anybody's listening that knows these people and you know I butchered their name, I apologize in advance. I did not do that on purpose. I'm not great at pronouncing names I have not seen. So there is that. But yes, a huge congratulations to all of them for making the Olympics. Cannot wait to see all of these players dominate USA just in general. Go USA. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to watch. I hope you guys are excited too. So with that, before we get into on the weekly basis, whether we do Tommy Town or pro sports, we're going to be always repping and shouting out our favorite athleisure, or not even just athleisure, just like clothing company in Minnesota, UNRL. But before we do that, I feel so bad. So we've highlighted Hockey Day Minnesota the last couple of years. It's a really fun event. It turned into like simply being just like Hockey Day Minnesota the Saturday and then a couple things Sunday. Then now it's like a full week, and it just wrapped up this last week. And I feel so bad I didn't shout it out, but shout out to Hastings. They did a great job of hosting it. It was hosted at United Heroes League, their new what was I going to say? Their new like outdoor hockey arena. My sister used to work there, so shout out United Heroes League. They did a great job of hosting and a great job of all that, just getting everything together and putting everything together. It was very well done. But onward and upward. So next year, Brainerd is actually hosting Hockey Day Minnesota, and it's going to be hosted on, what is it? It's going to be hosted at the Brainerd International Raceway. And for more information, you can actually go to brainerdhdm27.org, and you can find out a bunch of stuff they have. They already have events coming up. Logo reveal party June 22nd, November 1st. Site plan reveal, pond hockey and lake bar winter 26. Summer of 26, they're going to have a summer party for it. Final winter event. So go onto the website. You can get notified of these new things. You can, if you're interested and you want to help sponsor, you can do that. You can volunteer. Everything you need to know. Obviously, it's still very early. It's not even 2026, just barely started. But yeah, and then I always forget. So usually, like this year, last year, they just in 2025, they had just announced 2027 because you got to plan, you got to put in bids and everything like that. And then they just announced at the 2026 event that in 2028, Hockey Day Minnesota is not going to be far from your boy. It'll be in Maple Grove, being hosted at Central Park. So that'll be super fun. And for those that don't know, Hockey Day Minnesota usually does a great job of doing like a Twin City, and then like an out of town, like north or south one. So yes, we had 2025 was Shakopee before Hastings. Then it was Warroad in 2024. Then it was White Bear Lake in 2023. 2022 Mankato. 2021 Roseville. And then in 2020 it was up in Bemidji. So they do a pretty good job of kind of showcasing all the towns, hockey towns across the great state of Minnesota. Feel bad that we didn't get a chance to highlight them this year, but stay tuned. We will definitely keep you guys updated with Hockey Day Minnesota stuff coming up as we know more. But like I said, as usual, UNRL Unreal really is unreal, top of the line in athleisure, as far as I'm concerned, as far as a lot of people are concerned. They are just wrapping up doing their, what are they calling it? Their emblem capsule in arena exclusive with the Wild, Blue Jackets, Golden Knights, Predators, Bruins, Red Wings, and Penguins. The last group was Pittsburgh and Las Vegas that had their in-one just yesterday. So yeah, they got a couple of other cool things coming up. They just came out with their their suede, some really cool kind of like crew neck sweaters. And then coming up here, their next collaboration coming soon on Tuesday the 3rd is the 1980 Miracle Capsule. So can't wait to see what they're going to come up with that. They've already shown some kind of sneak peeks. So if you guys want to go check them out on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that. But what are we repping tonight? I'm glad you asked. We went simply, we're doing the limited edition 125th Oakmont Open snapback hat. Super comfortable. I love wearing this thing golfing. Never feel too hot, too cold in it because it's got the wick and stuff on the back. And then didn't realize we haven't done this one before, but we just got our UNRL DWR track jacket. It's the same jacket that you can get in like the golf edition where it says like essentially, let's see if I can get taller here. Like right here, it'll say golf, and it's really cool because you have this like zipper pocket that you can zip and put stuff in, and it gets even better. You can zip this up, and you can like store it in there, and then this top comes with matching pants that can also fit in the pocket too. So travels well. I mean, these guys really think of everything. I am not kidding you. So yeah, that's kind of like what they have on the horizon. On the horizon for Unreal. And yeah, before we let you guys go, I'll remind you guys, if you want $15 off your first order from UNRL, go check out the link in my YouTube description where if you use the link, you'll get $15 off your first order and start accruing points that you can use on future orders for 10, 15, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, all the way up to $50 off future orders, which is super, super cool. And lastly, like I said, they're top of the line at athleisure. They really have something for everybody. They have stuff for your people who like to work out, your going to the office, your golfing attire, your football attire, your lounging attire, anything you can think of that you would want for your day-to-day life, UNRL has got you covered. So go check them out. They're also available in stores in Shields. So go check them out and tell them the mini weekend sent you. UNRL.com website and all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All right. So with all of that said, now we kind of get into the wild. And I gotta be honest with you guys here. I knew kind of coming up that there's like going to be a hold for the Olympics, obviously. But I've been kind of thinking like, shit, like Bill Guerin's gotta try finding another center for this team. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've been playing some good hockey lately. Just won. I mean, it's insane. They beat the Calgary Flames last night, 4-1, continuing just to play really good hockey. But I've been kind of like, hey, what's going on here? Why isn't Bill Guerin trying to add another center or trying to beef up this team? The trade deadline has got to be coming up, and it actually isn't. So the trade deadline is a little bit later this year due to the Olympics. So there's going to be two things that are happening. So there's going to be an Olympic roster freeze, which means nobody can be moved from February 4th to the 22nd. However, the trade deadline is set for March 6th, which isn't a bad way to do it because then that way, if you get injured during the Olympics, you don't have to worry about, oh man, I sent 2 players and 2 draft picks for this guy. Now he's injured. He's not going to be able to play most of the year. Like, what the heck? So a good idea because the Winter Olympics are in play this year, but didn't realize that was actually a thing this year. Super cool that they're doing that. And it makes a little bit more sense that since the Quinn Hughes trade that that we haven't tried to do more, kind of be more proactive with that. But like I said, the Wild have been playing really well lately. They have won 5 of their last 7 and gotten points in 6 of their last 7. Kind of really getting back. They're getting guys healthier. They're getting more guys back from injuries and all that kind of stuff. I think if you look at they really only have Jonas Brodin and Zach Bogashian. I can never pronounce his last name right. I hear it on the games all the time, and I can never translate it to the podcast, and I feel terrible for that. But yeah, those are the only two guys listed on the IR. So hopefully, they only have 3 games left before the break. They got their game tomorrow night at 9 p.m. in Edmonton. We will be live streaming that game. Cannot wait. It'll be our first wild game we'll be doing, which will be super fun. So tune in for that. And then they'll be at home on the second Monday, 6:30 against the Montreal Canadiens. The last team to actually beat them in regulation, actually. And then their last one before the break will be Wednesday, February 4th at Nashville. And then they will be back in action on the 20th. So that's essentially what we have for the Wild. Excuse me. And then for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised. The NBA trade deadline is coming up. Excuse me, the trade deadline is set for February 5th, so less than a week from now, and we still have not traded for a point guard. Doesn't surprise me. A guy like Tim Connolly is, unless he knows he can get a good deal on somebody, he's probably going to wait to try to maximize getting the best deal he can. Excuse me, like right before it, and I would imagine we will deal and get a player early the 5th, maybe the 4th, but just be patient. We know something is going to happen. But recently, everybody's been talking. I even posed a question on my TikTok about getting a point guard. The Timberwolves have actually been linked to a very big name guy who has actually been vocal about playing alongside of Anthony Edwards. And it's really posed the question of what's better for the Wolves. Is it better for them to go get a true point guard to play alongside Edwards, or is it better to go get the best available player to play alongside him? Because that player I'm talking about is none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it's really kind of made me think that, okay, maybe, because I was watching that game against Oklahoma City Thunder last night. Last night a little bit. And Bones Highland played very good. So if you're Tim Connolly and you feel good about how he's playing, maybe you get in Chris Finch's ear and say, hey, I need you to be playing Bones as our starting point guard, throw in Mike Conley from time to time, but he needs to be our starting point guard. Then forget about that and maybe go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, with how big his contract is, that means the deal for him would have to be centered around like Gobert and Randall, which would mean our young centers are going to have to step up, which it seems like, in the minutes they've played these last couple of weeks, they have the capability of doing. They're still very young. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Because if I am a betting man, but if I had to put money on, should they go after the best available and like a Giannis, or should they go get like a true point guard, like a Colin Sexton, Kobe White, somebody like that? I'm kind of split 50-50 because on one hand, a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo would definitely make it open the floor on you now have to focus in on 2 guys. And as much as I love Julius Randle, he is a great player, a terrible ball handler. But you never really have to, in my opinion, since he's been on our team, he can get his buckets and he get his shots. But he's the kind of guy that it's like, okay, if you can settle if he's going to score and he's going to beat you, whereas Anthony Edwards, it's like, if we're going to lose, it's not going to be because Anthony Edwards goes off. Like, when was the last time you saw Julius Randle getting double teamed? You really haven't. So I think if you can give up a guy like Julius Randle to get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, it'd make things a lot more interesting. For the Timberwolves, because you have Bones Highland that can play the point. You have Anthony Edwards bringing the ball from time to time at the 2. Giannis, a huge guy that's always going to have 2-3 sets of eyes on him and open things, and then you have 2-3 sets of eyes on Anthony Edwards and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You give some of these young guys like the Bones Highlands, the Rob Dillingham, if God forbid you play him, and the centers to get more open looks and get that confidence going early on. So it'll be interesting to see what Tim Connolly does. And truthfully, I don't know that I'd rather have one over the other. If it's like one of those things where it's like would I rather have Giannis or a point guard? I'm kind of 50-50 on it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next coming days. And I can't wait to see what we do and what that means for Anthony Edwards, which will be fun to see. And then getting into the NFL a little bit, there were a couple of different topics I kind of wanted to go over here. And the first one actually being Bill Belichick's Hall of Fame stuff, which is just, it's preposterous to me, quite frankly. And I'm going to pull it up here. My cousin the other day worded it, couldn't have worded it any better than I did. Whether you like him or not, it's crazy that the greatest football coach of all time is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. So I thought I had it up, and I do not. Bill Belichick accomplishments. So let's just look at some of his accomplishments. He has 6 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl wins as a defensive coordinator, and 9 total Super Bowl appearances as a head coach, which is most all time. He has 31 career postseason wins, most by any NFL coach, 17 division titles, most by any head coach in NFL history, 3 times AP NFL Coach of the Year, named to the NFL 2000s and 2010s All-Decades team and the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, and his 329 total victories regular season and playoff combined are second only to Don Shula. And if that's not enough, he led the Patriots to one of the greatest dynasties in sports history, with 13 consecutive playoff berths and 11 straight division titles, and he presided over the league's regular season 132 and a 72 record, and in the playoffs was 30-11 during the 19-year dynasty era, which is just insane. So I don't know how you do that. He got 40 of the necessary 50 points to be elected into the Hall of Fame, and from what I've gathered, it seems like the consensus is for not wanting to vote for him is the Spygate and those things. And I just, again, I grew up we've talked about this before and I'll echo this again. I've always been never I'll root for a team, but I kind of root for players. So I've always liked LeBron James. So I would say I'm a LeBron James fan, but I never would have said I'm a Cavs fan. I would never say I was a Heat fan or a Lakers fan, but I like to see guys that I like to win. So I always kind of liked the way Tom Brady played. That never meant I was a Patriots player. I didn't particularly care, from what I've heard about his personality, about Bill Belichick. The bottom line is this guy is a winner. I urge you, go look up what Richard Sherman, a big-time defensive Hall of Fame player. Somebody asked him in an interview, how do you feel about this? And he's like, I can't, this isn't verbatim, but he essentially alluded to, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. He's like, at the end of the day, whether you know our playbooks and you know our plays as an offense or as a defense, the bottom line is your 11 guys have to beat my 11 guys. So you can know everything we're about to do, but you still have to go out and beat us. And at the time when he said that, I was like, because that was around the time of that, when you try me with a star receiver like Crabtree. So, which kind of made me think it seems like kind of a hothead. And then when he said that, I was like, that's actually really profound of a current player in the NFL to say that about something bad happening. Is it bad? Is cheating okay? No, it's not. But at the end of the day, I think he brings up a very interesting point that regardless of what competitive advantage you're trying to get, whether it's in game with taking delay of game penalties, offside penalties to Bill Belichick, whatever you're trying to do, you still have 11 players on your field that are trying to beat the 11 players, and you can have the most talented team out there, but if they're not executing, you're probably not going to win. So I think that was something else I thought about going to this, which I thought was really profound because, truth be told, again, whether you like the man or not, whether he was your favorite guy to root for or not, this man is no doubt in my mind a first ballot Hall of Famer. And the fact that it didn't happen just goes to show you that there are people out there that really vote for stuff like this from their heart instead of how they feel about this person as a football person. Because I think if you asked, hey, is Bill Belichick worthy of going to the Hall of Fame or not? I don't think there is a person that would say no. But if they're voting and saying, hey, do I want to give my votes to him? Well, he did this, he did that. It's like, no, yes or no. And he clearly deserves to go to the Hall of Fame. So I have no doubt in my mind it'll probably happen for him next year. But really sucks that he got snubbed this year. And then just earlier today, Kwesi Adefo-Mensah got fired, really interesting that we decided to do the podcast today instead of yesterday. Because now we get to talk about this. And a lot of people, I gotta say, kind of another controversial thing that happened, obviously. But from some of the people close to me that I've talked about this today, is it seems like a lot of people that don't do the research I do, because I mean, a lot of the research I do is for the podcast, and I try to stay up to date with Schefter and all these guys. Like boom, 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 reading into and looking into as much information as possible instead of just speculating. But it seems like there are a lot of people that believe he got canned because he was either trying to get a guy like Joe Burrow too hard or he was holding it up. When the reality is, it seems like a lot of this was stemming from draft preparedness. For those that don't know, the Senior Bowl was happening this weekend, and he just got back a couple days ago or a day or two ago from recruiting guys before the Senior Bowl. And so knowing what I know, that it was kind of this, there were some people that didn't like some people within the organization, and it seemed like there was some friction in terms of which way to go in the draft. And if you're the Wilfs, who own the team and are trying to bring the Super Bowl to Minnesota, they were probably trying to get him to go a certain way, knowing that he hasn't drafted the greatest, and he was stuck in his own way. So it's one of these transactions, one of these firings, that his drafting track record didn't surprise me a ton, but also wasn't like it didn't surprise me a ton, but it surprised me a little bit, just because up until now I didn't really think there was too much of a rift within the organization. And very similar to like Bill Belichick, like I trusted the guy, like he was making the right moves and right things. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he had good intentions. But I think the biggest and the last thing I'll say on the whole thing too is everybody's like, oh man, he fumbled. What was it? It was back in I think 21 or 22 when we clearly needed like a defensive back, and he went with Lewis Cine instead of Kyle Hamilton. It's like, look, it's very rare to be a general manager and have a draft pick, have like every single one of your draft picks hit, And I get people aren't saying that. People are saying, oh, he wasn't a great drafter. And it's like, well, he wasn't a great drafter, but he wasn't shitty. He drafted Will Reichert. He drafted Donovan Jackson. He drafted Dallas Turner, who took a little bit of time to get into it. He drafted J.J. McCarthy, who's looked for what he's gotten, decent. So I think to say he's a terrible drafter is a bit much, but I'm also not saying he's a great drafter. Like, I really do think there are probably, if you really think about it, there's probably three on any given year, there's three, maybe four organizations that actually have good drafts and everything pans out for them the way it should have with the draft. And 3 to 4 teams that they drafted terribly, and holy shit, that could not have gotten worse. They missed on everything. Everybody else you have one here that does really well, you have one that does bad, you have one that you got one that does this. So it's like, how much stock do you put into that? Because in the reality, it's like, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you want the best available players, and the best available players aren't always draftees. They're free agents. They're trying to get this guy coming in. Hey, we don't have this much cap. Can you come in for this kind of salary? And all that, and all those kinds of things. So interesting that happened. But as I say, onward and upward. If they weren't, and like I said, judging by the fact that drafting wasn't going as planned, it makes sense that they did it quicker so that they can have people in the organization all on the same page heading into the draft. But it'll be interesting to see what Kevin O'Connell says about the whole ordeal within the next couple of days. I imagine he's going to be pretty, not giving too much information, but it'll be just interesting to see kind of what kind of emotion he has with all this that went on and happened. And so with that, we're not going to dive into the Super Bowl this week, because obviously we got 2 weeks until the Super Bowl. This upcoming week is Pro Bowl. I got a couple questions for you guys, like how would I change the Pro Bowl? And truthfully, I don't think I'd really change it too much. I think, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, if I had it my way, and the players will never go for this, I would have, just like in the NHL or the NBA, with the All-Star game, or having that kind of stuff matter, have something to play for, whether it's home field advantage in the following Super Bowl. So like this one next year, it's not deciding the Super Bowl happening on February 8th, but the one happening in 2027. Play for that. Play for some kind of money, but actually have it be a game and have these guys like in full pads playing an actual game. I think fans would love that. I think it'd be so cool, but I don't think that's what used to happen. I don't think the fans will ever get away, or I don't think players will ever go for that again. So that's why I say I probably wouldn't do much, because in my opinion, it's like, why, like, these guys are just set in what they want to do. So I got two more things for you guys. I got some kind of fun, and then I have a parlay to end with you guys with. So before we do that, I know a handful of you guys on TikTok have been seeing me reacting to some of your hot takes. Over 700 comments. I love them. But I thought we'd react to some of them, and we'll put them right up here. So the first one is from TV, and his hot take was, he goes, "I'm pretty sure I know how this goes. They're going to go 15-2 and have a bunch of legendary moments in the season. They'll probably beat my Packers twice, and then just decide to stop being unbeatable and lose to a really random team in the playoffs." And as funny as that is, that's very true and could very well happen. That's very true and could very well happen. It kind of seems like the Vikings have this every other year. They have a really good season and kind of have this, hey, they could contend for a Super Bowl. And then the next year they're mid, but not great, but not shitty. And this year we were kind of mid, great, not shitty. And the year before we were like legitimate Super Bowl contenders. So great. I mean, not super hot of a take, but I like it. That's probably what's going to happen. The next one, incorporate Ty Felton. Not a hot take, but just need to use them. I could not agree more. And if I'm being completely honest, I think part of the reason we didn't utilize him more this year was because we were utilizing more 2 and 3 tight end schemes. In my opinion, with Thielen being retired, I really think Ty Felton is wide receiver 4. I got JJ, Jordan Addison 2, Naylor 3, and then Ty Felton 4. As of right now, I don't think there's anybody on the roster I would put above Ty Felton. But again, it's one of those situations where, you ever want to put 4 guys out there. Jalen Naylor has proven that he's a top target for JJ. And Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are always going to have eyes on him. So again, kind of that Giannis, Anthony Edwards scenario where it's like you put Ty Felton out there. He doesn't need to be amazing, but he's going to get looks by virtue of other guys having all these eyes on him. But again, a great way of putting it, Gabe. It isn't a hot take, but it just needs to happen more, especially with Thielen being gone. And should we kind of go away from those 2-3 tight end schemes? I definitely think we're going to see him more next year. I grabbed 5 for us, so let's do a couple more. Third one, the Vikings are the worst run organization in the history of sports. 0-17 incoming. Not gonna lie, this is a very, 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 very hot take. We got the Panthers next year, the Saints next year, the Jets next year. We have a couple of games next year that I just don't see us winning, regardless of how the offseason goes. So I don't think 0-17 is coming. I mean, we're not the worst run organization in the history of sports. I can think of a couple others. Cleveland Browns currently, the Jets currently, Saints currently, and then even in other sports, Oakland Athletics. I guess they're going to Vegas. But we're not going to go down, all bunch of them. The next one from Harrison Callahan, and he said, Vikings trade for Anthony Richardson and go on to win the NFC North. And this is actually a hot take that I actually really enjoy. The only thing I don't really like about it is trading for Anthony Richardson. I could see it happening, but I've kind of talked about this before. I think if you're the Vikings, you have 2 options at the quarterback position. You either commit to JJ and develop him for, including this upcoming season, for the next 2 or 3 years, and then either dump him or ride him because he's doing amazing, or you swing big and you get the Joe Burrow, you get the Lamar Jackson, the Josh Allen, and win within these next couple of years. And I think anything in the middle is just stupid and a waste of time, because an Anthony Richardson, a Mac Jones, a Kyler Murray, a guy like that is not talented enough to just bring you right to a Super Bowl and win you a Super Bowl right away. But I like it. It's again, that's why I asked you guys hot takes, and you guys deliver. And then the last one we'll do from Tyler 11. He said Justin Jefferson actually gets more than 5 TDs next season with only JJ McCarthy at QB. And again, another hotter take, but something that can very well happen that I like to see. I think very much so. Justin Jefferson had an off year. I think people look at, JJ, he didn't have great guys thrown to him. Jefferson, something was off this year with him. He dropped a lot of balls that he usually does not drop. So it'll be interesting to see just how he bounces back in all of those things. But he will definitely have more than a 5. I think he will be circa, was it 21 or 2, where he was one of the top TD catchers in the league. And it'll be fun to see him going. And JJ McCarthy being the only quarterback there, I think having a year under his belt, he's going to know what to expect. He's going to have a better read of how soon he's got to get out of the pocket, and just a better understanding of the game. So should we not go get Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen, I really do think JJ McCarthy, barring another injury, will be our quarterback next year and will do just fine, if not great. That's what I got for you guys, reacting to some of your hot takes. Thank you for them, and keep your eyes peeled for our TikTok. We will continue to highlight some of you guys and react to some of your takes. But then lastly, before we let you guys go, again, I mentioned we're not going to get too much into the Super Bowl with it being a little bit far away. But guys, I was on Underdog today, and I saw some really low numbers that I just had to jump on them. So I got a 4-leg parlay to turn $5 into $54.85 that I'll put right here. Boom. And it's Kenneth Walker III to have more than 2.5 receptions. Ramondre Stevenson, more than 22.5 receiving yards. Stephon Diggs, more than 5.5 receptions. And Drake May, more than 37.5 rushing yards. For a guy like Sam Darnold, who throws the ball quite a bit, Kenneth Walker, 2.5 receptions. Again, that's why I can't urge you guys enough. If you're into the parlay stuff and the bettings, try to look at and see if you can get some low lines before everybody gets out there and starts placing bets. Because I'm willing to bet, it's Thursday or Friday, January 30th. Even by the second or third, you're going to see some of these numbers starting to go up because people are trying to hammer them. So I will do my best to tell you guys my parlays and stuff I'm hitting. I know we haven't had a great record yet, but we're going to hit. But yeah, and so with the parlay, I'll remind you guys, I am not a financial advisor, so do with these picks what you will. I'm not liable for any losses, just like I will not come after you for any of your winnings. And if you have any issues gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, and they will give you the help and resources you need to get better. And yes, with that, last reminder, tomorrow night we will be live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time doing the live stream of the Wild and Edmonton Oilers game. And with that, this podcast is about you guys, the listeners. If you have any questions or topics you want me to address, please reach out. We are on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We're on Facebook. Feel free to email us, DM us, comment at us. Let us know, and we will shout you out. If you want to stay anonymous too, we'll respect that. But more than anything, continue to listen and support. Make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel to get notified of the new episode when it comes out. Until next time, Minnie.